So in this video we're going to be removing a clutch or replacing a clutch. It's my first video since in 2015 and I tried to do the best I could, so bear with me on this one. It's a bit of a long one. Okay, so the first thing you've got to do is you've got to make space so you can get access to the gearbox, so you can start taking off the bits around the gearbox. So we're going to start with moving the MAF sensor, the airbox and the battery box. So I've done these in a few of my videos, so they're all formalities. Anyway, so let's start. Like you can see in the video, we're going to start removing the airbox and the battery box, which is all pretty simple. See, I'm just pulling it off, and then you've got that little plastic thing on the top. I'm removing the terminals, as you do. You should really take off negative first, because you can still have a positive charge in the car, and they just advise you should take off negative first. Once you've done that, remove your battery. Now some batteries come with a clamp at the bottom, but mine didn't. Okay, to remove the battery box, it comes with 4 10mm bolts at the bottom. They just come off pretty easily. They just buzz off. It's good having this cordless drill because it makes everything so much easier. Okay, so I removed the light panel, the bulb panel, because I think it just gave me a bit more space to move everything. So it's 2 screws and pull it out. And there's one hidden screw just behind the battery box, which also holds down the air box as well. So just get your extension socket and pull it out, and it'll all come up. All we're doing here is we're just trying to create space so we can actually gain access to the gearbox and the bits around the gearbox. So just take your time, do everything you can, and try to remember where everything goes. What I did was I put the bolts back from where they came from, so I didn't have to look for them afterwards. But you know, you can do what you want, but that's what I did. I pulled the bolts back. Now this is the starter motor that we're looking at. I'm going to take off a few bits on the starter motor. I think that's where I started. And you see these holes here? This is your inlet hole. You really want to put some tissue in there just so nothing falls down there, because if anything falls down there, it will go directly to your engine and cause you lots and lots of problems. So just put something in there just to stop anything from going down there and into your engine. Okay, so we're at the starter motor. We can see on top of the gearbox a little bit better. I'm going to start by just removing the electrical plugs and sockets, which is actually attached to the top of the starter motor. Now this all runs around your engine, but you just want to like I say, gain access and start loosening up any wires that's in and around the starter motor. Now there's a little kind of plastic holder which you see I'm removing the wires from at the moment. It's like a kind of it kind of holds it. It's like a channel that actually holds all the parts of your wiring loom that goes to your engine there. So you just got to ease up out of there. As you can see what I'm doing here, just wrestle with it a little bit, and it should just pull out. Shouldn't be too much drama, but you need to get them out so you can gain access to actually remove that plastic bit itself. Okay, so what you can see here is the top of the gearbox, as you'll see after you remove the airbox. Now this piece that I'm removing here, that's the clamp for the power steering pipe. Just undo it and just move it back. That'll just loosen it up, because we're just starting to take all the dressings around it. Now I'm actually taking off the other power steering clamp that's a bit further down. That will loosen up everything off. That will loosen up the power steering pipe off the gearbox itself. So free them up and continue preparing it for removal. Now this is a gear linkage. You've just got to just take off the clip. Don't throw it away like I did just then. And do the same on the other one. Now once you've done that, they just pull off, they just slide off really easily, because like I said, you're trying to free up everything from around it. Now this is the clamp holder itself. I'm trying to get the best shot I can, just buzz that off. I'm telling you, this that impact socket is a godsend. I might put a link in the description. Let me know if you want the link in the description on where to get one. But yeah, just buzz them off. Now there's 3 bolts on this. There's 2 as you can see there. It drops another one that hit the floor, and there's one just in the side which attaches to the gearbox. It's only a 30mm socket, but you'll see it once you actually start to remove it. I just can't really get in there, but it's a 30mm socket. Have a long socket because there's an extended thread in there, and once you've taken it out, as you can see I'm doing here, there's the bolt there. It should just all slide off pretty easily. It should just shake off after that. Okay, so the next thing to do is to remove the earth strap that's actually onto the engine. Once again, another 13mm bolt. Now, this bolt is also a part of the gearbox bolt itself, the main gearbox bolt itself, but it's got like an extended screw which you attach to. But you remove that earth cable just like that. It's a 30mm, and remove it, and it goes back into that starter motor clamp which you got to pull it out of earlier. So we're back to the starter motor again, and we're also removing the main wires from here as well. So there's a VW clip here that clips onto the, I forgot what that's called on the starter motor, but it helps the starter motor kick in. I forgot what it's called. I know someone will remind me, but you just got to disconnect the wire that goes to it. It's the switch for the actual starter motor. You've also got the mains live feed that actually goes directly there as well. I'm just trying to give you the best pictures possible. So once you've got that off, you need to get this plastic clip off. You need the screwdriver just to lift it up. I couldn't really show it to you properly there because it was quite difficult. But that's the tab that you have to lift up from inside. So that's what it looks like from underneath. You can see what I'm trying to show you. That's the tab that's got to be pulled up. So that was the top of it. And that's inside. You've got to get your screwdriver, lift it up, and then slide it backwards. It was a bit of a difficult shot to actually pull off. So I just decided to explain it to you instead. Okay, so now we're back to the starter motor, and this is the clamp that it holds onto. Once again, it's another 13mm socket. Just slide it onto there, and once again that's attached to the main starter motor bolt. So just get that socket in there, that long range 13mm, and just undo it so you can pull off that clamp. Once you pull off that clamp that black thing slides onto, as you can show my hand, that's what that black thing slides onto. You can actually gain full access to the starter motor itself. So there's the starter motor bolt. That's the same bolt that I was just showing you earlier that the clamp was on before that. So that's an 18mm socket if I remember correctly, and it's a really long one. It's important for you to remember the orders that these come off in so you can put them back together, because it will get confusing. There's a really long one. In total, the gearbox will have 8 bolts that go through it. So here's the starter motor one. You've seen this in the starter motor video that I've done before. See me just pulling it off. Make sure you put everything away safely. So you're just slowly, methodically going through the car, just trying to take off bits by bits. You know, it won't take long, but you know, you just have to make sure you do it in the right sequence. Now this is a sensor on the front of the gearbox that was just behind the starter motor. Just got to get it's the normal VW clip where you lean on the back and pull it off. It's not the speed sensor. I don't know what one that is exactly. But anyway, you're going to have to jack up your car, as you always do. Make sure you put them in the safe space on the axle stands. Take off your wheel. Here's my helper, actually for my cousin. And slide a wheel underneath. You're going to need an extra set of hands. You're going to need someone quite big and strong to help you out. So, you know, make sure you've got a bit of help when it comes to actually removing this gearbox, because you will need it. Okay, so we're going to be removing the drive shaft for extra space. Now this is a 30mm socket if I remember correctly. Just start by undoing it. You know, put the screwdriver in the brake disc, as you can see I'm doing there, and then start to remove the actual drive shaft. This is the inner part of the drive shaft, which actually goes onto the gearbox itself. Just take your time, get them undone, make sure you keep all the screws, and make sure you use the correct tool, because if you don't use the correct tool, this will give you hell, and it's not what you want. To spin it around, get someone outside just to put a screwdriver in the vents and spin it around, and to lock it, you keep it there. Now you've seen this before. This is the ball joint. Just undo it with a 30mm socket. Now the reason why I've got my cousin actually holding the top of it is because the bolt on the top seems to come off every now and then. They seem to just rust and just come off. So make sure you've got a spanner to hold the top, and then you can buzz off the bottom. I intend replacing them in the near future, so this is just a quickie, you know. But this is all comes from people not putting anti-seize on when they're replacing these parts. But once you've loosened everything, pull it off. I didn't actually show you how to take off the ARB, the linkage there, but it's very easy to do. Okay, so where are we now? I used an engine support to remove this, to support the engine. Now you can use a jack, but I just chose an engine support. I borrowed it off a friend of mine, and it just suited me because we're going to be working underneath it. I just wanted it to be secured from the top and not have something else to kind of fight with underneath. But you can do this with an engine jack. It's entirely up to you. Now this is the cylinder slave pipe. It just clips on. It's a push fit pipe. Just pull it off. Now make sure this has got something to leak into, so some sort of bottle or some way of blocking it up, because it will drip forever. Now this is behind the gearbox. I'm going to zoom out to show you a bit better. That's behind the gearbox, and that's the speed sensor. You've got to reach behind there, and it's the same Volkswagen clip. Pop in and pull out. Okay, so now you're going to have to get the gearbox supported, because we're going to go a little bit further and just start to crack all the nuts associated with the gearbox itself. So this is the gearbox mount, and we're going to loosen up all these bolts. We're just trying to take off a little bit of slack off everything, you know, because we don't want to end up with just having all the pressure on one bolt. So loosen up all your bolts, just crack them open, you know, just go around and make sure they're all right. Now there's a third bolt that you don't see in the back there, which I'm going to show you in a minute. This is where you need a long 18mm socket here because of this extended thread. Now that's what the gearbox linkage was holding on to. Now I didn't actually have a long thread. I had a swan neck 18, so it took me forever, but I did get it done. But it's really been much easier if you have the correct tool, just a long 18. Okay, this is actually underneath the car. As you can see, it's next to the drive shaft. It's going towards the gearbox. You'll see it as you lay underneath. Just take your time. Once it's loose, use your hand. I probably could have got a socket in there, but it wasn't the end of the world. Now underneath, you're going to have two bolts here, two 16mm bolts. Just get your socket on it and twist it off, or do what you can with it. And as usual, you know, I get to a stage and I just don't mind doing it with my hand, just so I can get a good feel of it, because I don't want to be cross-threading anything. It's the same for the other one. And once again, remember the order that you're putting these on in. Okay, so there's another 18mm bolt. As you can see, it's just underneath the starter motor area. Once your car's jacked up, you can actually reach with this under the wheel if you've got a long enough extension. So yeah, that comes out pretty easy. Like I always do, come out, pull out the screws with my hand. So now we're just fully loosening all the bolts. Now we've got all our support and we've loosened all the bolts around the gearbox itself. We're just gonna, you know, we loosened up now. Now we're just continuing with totally freeing up all the bolts. Now we've got our support, our jack underneath the car to make sure it doesn't go anywhere and the gearbox doesn't, there's not too much stress pressure on one place. So this is my impact socket. Here you go. Really easy with that impact socket. So much easier. It just takes a little bit of work off you, you know. Make sure you remember which way the bolts go as well and where they go. And this is the third bolt. It's a bit hidden. As you can see, that's the engine mount, and it's just hidden a bit behind there. So that's how you do that. There you go. Just pull it off. Now once it's off, the gearbox will loosen, it will drop a little bit. This is the reason for having the jack under there, because now you're going to need a little bit of help on working it out. Now when you're working on the floor like this, it's best to have help, someone strong enough to actually help you pull it out. Now you could probably do it with two jacks, yep, I'm not saying you can't, but this is a little bit easier because there's a little bit of a knack to it, which I'm going to explain to you right now. Okay, so when you're laying down on the floor with it, what you want to do is you want to push up and twist slightly forward so it drops out like this, yeah? Because you've got to get it around the bottom of the subframe. Once you get it out, you should be happy, like I am here.
Oh, fuck you.